Hello, for this video I wanted to share with you just how I make my Labyrinth inspired door knocker earrings. The first step is to create the casted copies using some pouring resin. I've already made a couple molds to use for casting using my own original sculpted figures that I had created using Sculpey baked clay. Because there is a lot of detail in this very small sculpt, I started by pouring only a tiny bit of resin into each of the molds, and I am using a Q-tip to get a blanket coat. I want to cover the entire mold with a small amount of resin to make sure I get into all the little nooks and crannies. This helps greatly to eliminate the majority of air bubbles that could happen within the cast. Once I've coated all the molds, I just go back and use the rest of the resin to fill up the remaining space. Now, because I want to make these casted copies into dangle earrings once they're done, I'm adding a little loop to the top of each cast before the resin has time to harden. If I wanted to make stud earrings or pins, I would just skip doing this step. Once the resin has hardened, it's time to demold. I'm using these molds for multiple casts, so I'm doing my best not to cause any damage when removing the casted copies. A mold won't last you forever, but I still want to take good care of it so I get a longer use out of it in the end. Once all the casts have been demolded, I just need to go give the back side a thorough sanding just to remove any extra resin and make the back nice and smooth. The next step is to add the door knock loops. I made the loops using some 16 gauge aluminum wire and a small bead that I thought looked nice. I use a drill to create little holes for the metal wire to be glued into using some E6000 glue. And I do this with each cast that I've made. And as you can see, I've made quite a few. Once I've glued in all the loops to the figures, it's time to paint. For the base coat, I used a hammered gold spray paint, and I gave each of the casts a couple coats covering both front and back side. Once I let the gold spray paint dry, I then took each cast and painted on a black wash covering the entirety of the cast. While the paint is still wet, I then wipe off most of it using a damp cloth, and sometimes I have to repeat this step in some areas. This allows the black paint to only stay in the lower crevices and let the gold show through the higher spots. The black paint really makes all the small details in each figure pop, and it gives the cast a nice patina-like look. After painting all the casts, all I need to do now is add the little dangle hooks to complete my door knocker earrings. I'm just using a brass-colored dangle hook that I thought best matched the paint job of the figures. And here they are, all finished and ready to wear. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, bye-bye!